Welcome to In the Rough. Now, before we get started, I have to address some brief criticisms. Firstly, if you are sensitive, you might want to turn your computer screen off. And In the Rough, we talk about real issues affecting people, communities, nations, the world. So if you ain't ready to hear that, then you don't need to be watching this video. So, turn off your computer, pray to God, and go to sleep, because I don't care. Welcome to In the Rough. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first edition of the In the Rough podcast. I'm your co-host, Wolfgang Bronner, joining you this evening.
I'm Omari Smith.
I'm Chase Bryant, and today our guest is a student here at Tennessee Tech. She's a former volleyball player for the school, and she's also a part of our Women of Worth organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Oliver.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be here tonight.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
for
with
being
us.
here.
So, tell the people out there, what is your major?
Well, actually, I'm double degree. So I have one for international business and cultures, and the other is Spanish.
Nice. And your classification is?
A senior.
Oh,
I'm on the home stretch, so
Hey.
I'm just trying to finish.
We're going to encourage you to pull through and finish. So, tonight's topics, we will be discussing a plethora of issues and events. And we will be starting out with, first, what does it mean to be in the rough? So we're going to start with our lovely guest, Jessica.
What does it mean? I feel like it's something that maybe like a low point in your life, or like maybe something that you're struggling with right now, but you know in the future it's going to be better. So that's kind of what I think, but...
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, typically when I kind of like walk around campus now, I see a lot of my classmates / my peers, they just seem kind of down, like life, school is just like getting to them. So like when I hear like In the Rough, it kind of means you just going through a hard time. But, what people have to remember is like you just can't give up during them hard times. Because, like I can say myself, I didn't want to really like put it out there, but I have my In the Rough times, I would say like last year during the summer, 2018 was just a rough year, y'all, we just gonna cancel all of 2018.
Right.
Nothing's gonna cancel it.
No, like for real, hey, 2018, it contains some high points, but honestly, we just gonna cancel that whole year because that was just a bad year. I mean, I went to Miami, that was dope. I mean, but other than that,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
an
like,
experience, but other than that,
even the rough part, so I think that's also kind of what it means to be in the rough because, like, yeah, you're bogged down, but that's part of what molded you to be more refined.
true.
So it's like, we can't really, like, scrap it. That's kind of what, being in the rough meant to me. It's just like, you've got all these flaws or, like, you got all these things going on, just, like, in life in general. It's like, it's rough for you. Whether, like, it looks like it's rough on the edges, but bit by bit, you just keep taking away the pieces of, like, dirt and just, like, whatever's covering it, and then, what's underneath.
What's underneath? A diamond.
That diamond.
So obviously, yeah, like the old term goes, diamond in the rough. For me, I see it as a growing point because I feel like when we are faced with adversity and struggle, sometimes whether we overcome it or not, it shows us who we are as a person and where we need to go in order to succeed moving forward. Because when we think of a diamond in the rough, we think of something with potential but is not yet fully exposed and not yet ready to be shown to the rest of the world, you know, like diamonds usually are. So I see that as kind of the stages in our lives where we not necessarily fail or lose, but we learn through challenges and mistakes that we make, and it makes us better
because of it.
You know, in the long run, because when we become a diamond, we hold that value that diamonds hold. So that's what it means to me.
You know, and additionally adding to that, I do think like when you're in that rough period, like you do learn a lot about yourself, and then like you eventually do grow and appreciate like even the bad aspects of yourself. But the fact about it is that once you realize that you are that diamond, like you're able to recognize like, okay, I'm kind of tripping here a little bit. Let me kind of pull back, you know, like maybe I was being too angry. Maybe I was being too selfish, you know.
Yeah.
So I also think, you know, what it go, like self-worth, you know, loving yourself, you know, you know, that's part of like being in the rough, you know, learning how to love yourself while you in the rough, you know.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think a lot of people get confused a lot of times too. Is that like when they've got all those things going on, is that like, you know, you look at how a diamond's made and it really does start out being just like buried, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's where a lot of people get confused, because when you're buried, you're underground. And what also, you know, it gets buried whenever we've reached that point in life. Us, you know, when we die, we get buried. I think a lot of people get confused that their burying is them stopping or like quitting or broad term, for whatever, you know, whatever it may be for them, some kind of like internal death. It's like they're just like, you know, it's like confused, like, okay, I'm in this dark place, I know how to get out, I guess this is it for me. But like you said, when you start realizing, you know, those things that you're learning, or, you know, start seeing that inner part of like, okay, well, these are my flaws, how can I improve them? These are my strengths, how can I love myself to like improve both of those? You start realizing, okay, I'm not buried, but I'm planted and I'm growing. So
Piggybacking off of that, once you realize like what you're struggling with too, like I feel like people will, when you realize that what your faults are, then people will see that you realize and you're working on yourself, and then you're gonna be shining, I guess, kind of like the diamond. So like they'll see that shine through you and be like, hey, they're doing the damn thing. So like they're gonna realize that even though you still might be struggling with whatever it is. So it's not just you that sees that, it's other people gonna see that too.
Yeah, and I like that because what I think we also have to remember too is everybody shines in their own way. You know, every diamond starts off not like how it is cut like behind us, you know. It starts off like a natural rock, you know.
and it gets refined.
And everything, you know what I'm saying? Not every diamond, you know, is just the same. So just like every rock is not the same. So how one person shines may be different from how another person shines, but you don't let that hinder you. Kind of like how what Jess was saying, like, okay, I see him or her shining, let me go get my thing together so I can do that, so I can shine in my own way. And I feel like, back to the term of what it means to be in the rough, it's, you know, kind of like pressure makes diamonds. You know, it's because diamonds, you know, they start out as a lump of coal.
Yeah.
So they're under that type of pressure, and then that's how they're formed. So.
In case y'all don't know, it was kind of a topic for a while now. But at the beginning of the year, Lifetime put out a 6-part documentary series on Robert Kelly. A lot of people had a lot to say about it, like a lot. And I felt like that the questions we started to ask as far as like hip hop. Now I know R. Kelly ain't really considered hip hop, but you know he's a musician, you know, and you know we're kind of on that topic of music. So for me personally, I watched the whole 6-part documentary series on R. Kelly. Ain't even gonna cap, kind of disturbed me a bit.
I'm not gonna lie.
You are. I'm not. That ain't it.
But no, seriously. Just to let y'all, those who are listening know, I was out of the country and I didn't have any cable. I didn't really have any Wi-Fi. So while this was going on, I knew nothing about it. I saw that, that it was blowing up. When I have reception, I would see it was blowing up on social media. But me personally, I didn't really know all the ins and outs of the series. So I finally got home and I saw the first episode. I have not seen the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see,
The first episode.
That first one was a lot too.
Yeah, the first episode was
The
enough
first
for
one
me
was
to just not
definitely a
even
lot.
want to see the rest, because the fact what disturbed me the most was so many people were aware that he had a thing for young girls. His music teacher knew, his manager, like the girls knew, like, or they say that they had like kind of an idea.
Mhm.
People noticed that he was hanging around the high school. Like, people noticed these things, and people condone the fact that he was getting married to a girl who was underage, and they just let it happen. And that's my thing, like, how do you condone that? Like, how do you knowingly and play a part in that as well? You see it happen, you feel a way, but you let it play out. I feel like you were just as responsible, if not more in a sense, because you saw it happening.
Yeah. I'll definitely say, like, that was one part of the documentary that was irritating me the most, is that the most popular phrase I want to say I heard out of that whole entire series, like, now it might have not been said like word for word among other people, but it was along the same lines. It was like, I had a thing that I had an idea that R. Kelly had a thing for little girls, but I thought, like, I didn't think too much about it. And then they wind up getting involved with R. Kelly and then finding out that, no, like, that stuff was true. And honestly, it's just crazy. What tripped me out most about the whole documentary was, like, everyone's comments on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, if we being...
Go ahead and be honest.
Right. Just
Yeah,
talk
go ahead
about
and listen, I'm just saying, a 14-year-old girl don't know what the hell she doing. And I can say hell because this is PG. But I'm basically, listen, a 14-year-old girl does not know what she doing, because, like, that was one argument that was, like, making me mad above all else. Is like, them girls knew what they were doing. Now, listen, I can't speak for the 17 to like the 34 crowd that appeared up in the documentary. I'm referring to the 14 through 16 crowd that was involved in the documentary. And the fact that people were saying that they knew what they were doing, I'm really sitting here like, come on now, y'all. We were all 14 at one time, and we all knew that there was a lot of stuff we ain't know. And if we real with ourselves, like, young kids are impressionable, like, especially if it's someone like R. Kelly. Like, R. Kelly been iconic in the black community, like, for years. And, like, if you a young 14-year-old girl and R. Kelly come up to you, what you think gonna happen? Like, I'm not speaking in terms of, like, the young child, but I'm speaking in terms of, like, everybody else who's the outside looking in. Yeah. Like, you know that girl, like, is finna be like, oh my gosh, R. Kelly's talking to me and stuff like that, and y'all just kind of sat, and y'all still, like, sitting here kind of putting the blame on the young girl and not the 30-year-old man. It's like that kind of logic. And it's actually interesting because I was having this conversation with someone, like, literally yesterday about it. But when I look at a lot of issues that go on in America, a lot of the issues don't, when you boil it down to a single root, I feel like a lot of the issues, when you bring it down to a root, is not necessarily about racism. Now, I'm not denying the fact, like, racism do play a part in a lot of the decisions that's made, but the number one decision maker is like how much money you got. Like, honestly, like, if we gonna be real, that's the reason why I think this man R. Jelly ain't in jail, because this man got money. Like, and it's kind of hard to go after someone who has a lot of money and has a lot of power to kind of get away with what they want. But it's still kind of the simple fact is, are we really gonna deny the wrongdoings this grown man has done just because this man put out "I Believe I Can Fly" in Ignition and all that other stuff? You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
Yeah.
because what it comes down to is basically money. Because there's an old saying: is the difference between a criminal and a good businessman is the lawyer that he can afford. And from what was played out through the series, is that Mans was just trying to pay his way through it, like trying to buy his way out, and money can only get you so far, you know. I feel that a lot of the times, and I think too what people say when they come from that place of they blame the girls, I feel like, especially guys too, I feel like that's weird when I see guys do it, because at 14, that was like really the thing that kind of surprised me the most, is the guys who said we're blaming the girls. Because if the roles were reversed for a guy and Beyonce walks in, you 14, she says she wants you, you're gonna think about that differently. You're not gonna think, why does Rihanna want me? I'm 14 years old. You might. I'm not gonna say that that's what you will. You might think like, you might not think that way. You might think, oh my God, Rihanna wants me. You know what I'm saying? Because and that's just how kind of how it is. Because people can feel that certain way, because these are the people that we hold in high standard, because they're celebrities, because they have talent. They are deemed, special. So they may see it as, this person says they're going to give me an opportunity, or they think I'm this, or they think I'm that, or they think that I can do this, or they believe in me. When you make a person feel that way, it's easy, I will say it's easy in theory to see why it's easy to manipulate them and to get them to do the things that he got them to do. So I don't think that it's, I don't think that is justification for you to blame the girls on that, because these are young, impressionable girls.
No, it's not, because you have to think about it too. It's like, yeah, money is a saving grace for some people, but you have to look at the crazy part too, is that everyone else sees the wrong, and just because he's a celebrity or he has that high stature, people ignore it. And it's really like watching, like, think about this. Think like you have like a shepherd and his flock, right? And he just doing what he does. He shepherds, right? But then you got this wolf off in the distance who lures one of the sheep away, and all the other sheep are sitting there like, okay, well, he's gone. Deuces. All right, back to eating this grass. The grass delicious. But meanwhile, that sheep is going, following the wolf. But then the sheep knows it's away from the flock, but the fault still the overlying fault still lies with the wolf, because he lured the sheep away. But I think that's part of the problem too, is that everyone just sits and just like, oh well, they going off. I don't know what promise they gave him, but that's a big problem in society. Like, a lot of people are sheep. Like, they will literally like sit there, watch something bad going on, and they'll either do nothing or they'll do this. Man, let me take out my phone and record. Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that doesn't make sense to me, especially if you claim to be a person that have their own opinions and thoughts and whatnot, but you're just sitting here like
letting it happen
and stuff like that.
Because you ask all the girls, like, all the victims in the tape, all of them ended up pretty much saying, it's like, yeah, no, I was lured in with the ideas of success.
Yeah.
Success, money, I can sing a little bit.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think people forget that part, is that literally, like, R. Kelly waved money in front of these little girls' faces. Like, we 14, like,
we have no money.
Like, we have no money. Like, child labor laws, we can't get no job. Like, so if someone
promise me success,
yeah, if you promise me success, like, of course I'm gonna follow you. So
One thing I thought that was very interesting though about it in the episode or the little clip that I saw was there was a 17-year-old girl, and her friend, like when they met R. Kelly in the mall, they got the number or whatever from him, and the girl, instead of being like, I mean, are you sure? Because he just got through dealing with this whole Aaliyah thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you sure you want to be running? Instead, what she does is they rush to get her a nice little dress. They get her hair and makeup done. Like, the friend is encouraging her, like, yo, no, you need to go. And I feel like you have to be aware of the people you surround yourself with, too, because it's easy for them to ignore the signs, you know, and not to say that it was, you know, purposely for that reason, but, you know, just, you know, because she maybe saw that this is your opportunity, but, you know, not thinking ahead of, wait, why would you?
Yeah.
We're going to dinner and all. It's just me, not my parents. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm still 14.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, where are the parents in this whole thing? Where you getting ready to go out to eat and meet him?
That's what
Like,
Some of the parents got bought off too, though, didn't they not?
Yeah, some of the parents did get bought off because, you know, R. Kelly would come to the parents and be like, hey, I can make your child a star. And then, you know, like, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, you telling parents that are already kind of struggling a little bit, like, hey, I'm trying to make your child a star and give you money. So, like, what's up? What you trying to do? And that's how like the parents get manipulated too.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I keep saying the whole money thing, because it's literally like, bro, like, you wave $1 million in someone's face and be like, this can be yours if you do that. Like, there's an 8 out of 10 chance like they're going to do exactly what you tell them to do. Because just because of the fact you saying like, hey, I got $1 million right here, all you got to do is this real simple stuff real quick. And it's just crazy. Like, I really hate the fact that our society is like influenced by money so heavily. Like, people decide who they're going to be friends with because of money. People decide who they want to be in a relationship with because of money. Like, the government shut down because of money. Like everything in the world revolves around money. And like, I'm not going to say like money is like a completely evil thing.
It's not, but
like,
see, it's always like the love of money is evil.
Yeah, like
I
the
think that's
love
where
of
like the kicker is, because like the moment you start saying, okay, I really got to get this dollar real quick, I got to make this buck, oh, I get $1 million.
Yeah.
What for? What's the drive behind it?
Yeah, and to kind of close up, like I would also say like another part of me that was like vastly irritated by the documentary is that the lack of empathy from like everyone that kind of, you know, some people that kind of watch it, like that kind of lack of understanding. Chase, kind of like what you were saying, like you were surprised by like what dudes were saying. Like, for me, I'm not surprised at all about what some of the dudes were saying, like, because if we're gonna keep it a buck, some of these dudes out here doing the same stuff R. Kelly doing, and they got the same kind of thought process.
Those are facts, unfortunately. Those are facts.
What surprised me the most is about what women were saying, particularly black women. I'm gonna be specific, because, you know, a lot of black women be like, girl, he ain't do that to you, why didn't you do this, and stuff like that. And like, it kind of brings in that whole comparative aspect, you know, like, oh, I wouldn't do it, so like, why would she do it? And like, what people got to understand is like, not everybody is like you. People ain't gonna make the same decisions you made. So like, just because they didn't make the same decisions as you, at least try to understand it. Now, there's a difference between understanding and agreeing. I ain't saying I agree with your decision, but I understand like how your thought process led you to like from point A to point B. I'm gonna tell you how that thought process was wrong, but I'm not finna sit here and be like, oh, I lied. I never would have done that, so like, you lying type stuff. Like, come on. Like,
you somewhere else in life. How are you gonna tell someone what their particular problem is unless you live through it?
You're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for real though. Like, how you gonna tell me about my life when you're not living my life? Like, it's kind of, you sound redundant. So, but yeah,
Okay, so like last thing for me, what I saw was interesting was when they got to the part about the girl, you know, from the infamous tape where he pees on the girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the other girl that I found out that was actually a part of that, she was talking about her story, because the video that went viral is only a snippet of what happened between the two of them and another girl.
Mm-hmm.
So the other girl, what she said that I thought was very strange was, yeah, he lied to me because he told me that she was young, but he didn't tell me that she was that young. Because she was like something along the lines of she was expecting her to be maybe 16, 17.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, so you're okay with doing that with a 16 or 7, but she's still underage. I get what you're saying, Wolfie. Like you are, as you get older, you're able to make a more conscious decision of what you really want. So I get that, but at the same time, it's just like, it's still, you know, technically, you know, from a legal standpoint, it's still, you know.
Like for me, I would say like I don't really like when people make conscious decisions. I personally feel like they don't really start making like those smart conscious decisions until like during their 20s. Yeah, I would say 20, I would say before 21, to be specific. I would say like anytime before that, like a kid, like a person is impressionable because like during that time, like our brain is still developing and whatnot. So like we taking like a lot of stuff in. So, cause I don't, like you probably didn't see it, but there was a woman on that tape that was at least like 34 years old. Yeah.
On the tape.
wife.
On the tape.
Yeah, on the
that might be the same girl I was talking about.
Like on the documentary, like no, like she met R. Kelly when she was like in her 30s. So for her, my response to her kind of shifts a bit because it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I understand you were manipulated in a sense, but you kind of like dirty, like you know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like after like she saw the whole trial and the whole DVD got released. So like with her, I'm kind of like, okay, you a whole grown woman.
Yeah, but we got to keep in mind, kind of like what we said earlier, where it's like people make these decisions with a blind eye.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't realize that's actually what I found like the most interesting about it. They didn't realize what they were in until they were in it. Regardless of what they were promised or like what they ignored, you know, because a lot of the girls, they knew the allegations against them, but they did it anyway.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like they started seeing the other girls on various different tapes, or just like in the same room with Kelly at the same time, or in regards to I think it was like his second wife who had the two kids. In regards with her, she just realized like, oh, I got to get out of here, and it's either gonna be me jumping over this balcony, or me picking up these two kids and dipping.
Yeah.
So that's what I find crazy. Like, okay, you realize it's sad because like you realized too late, and now you're in the mess. And it's like, okay, well, how do we get out the mess?
So, I mean, I know I said final word like a while ago, but you know, like this was for me. This was the topic that had a lot of focus for me personally. But I mean, last thing I want to say on it is like we got to do better as a community of calling out like the right and wrong. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So moving on, the next topic would be the influence of hip hop.
Ooh, we get to the good ones.
So we're gonna start with Jess again.
Okay. Personally, okay, are we talking about? I know I probably said in this topic, but like music or just hip hop culture, or just like
So like
broad.
I guess for me when I was asking you to like elaborate on it, I was kind of referring to like hip hop culture in a sense, like
Gotcha.
Because I know you were saying that like is hip hop culture truly toxic or not? So I wanted you to kind of like elaborate on that.
Okay. I feel like overall, what I'm gonna say is like gonna refer back to music. So like, overall, I don't think it's toxic, at least specifically music, because yeah, we might talk about like, I don't know. I feel like, hang on, I'm going back and forth. Okay. The main thing is that a lot of people, when they think of hip hop music, they think of like gang banging, like get B-word, get money, you know, all that stuff or whatever. Trying to keep PG. So like, so like, I feel like it's like all in how you take it though, one, and two, hip hop is not all about that. Like, just think about the old school. That's not all they were like rapping about, singing about. You know what I'm saying? So you can have hip hop without all of that stuff that people think of it like automatically. You know what I'm saying? So there's that, and then it's all on how you take it too. So like, just because you listen to the music doesn't mean you're gonna be influenced by it. So like, I know with my dad, he didn't really care about us listening to explicit music growing up and stuff like that. So it's like, just because you hear the words like and stuff like that, like you know how you were raised and know how to act or whatever. I mean, I know everybody wasn't raised like me. Totally understand that. But just because I listen to like, I don't know, 2 Chainz and like Lil Wayne and stuff like that, doesn't mean I do the same stuff that they do. I mean, just like the beat, you know? I would be rapping along to the words, but I don't do the same thing that they do, you know? Or at least what they claim to do, what they rap about. So.
No, I definitely understand that. I feel like with hip hop, like there was like a true root like culture for hip hop, if that makes sense. Like a true definition for hip hop, and then it has gotten like perverted over time because of. I mean, me personally, I grew up listening to like Tupac, Andre 3000, you know, Outkast and stuff like that. They weren't really talking about all that, but I know now, like, now that I'm like 23 years old, you know, we got like NBA Youngboy and all these other dudes, and they kind of talk about, you know, get money, get ladies and stuff like that. And you know, it's kind of like what you said, like, okay, like, that's cool and all. Well, first of all, I'm gonna say, is that, we gonna ask the question, is that truly cool? Remember that. But like, should we be following that thought process? Like that, like, I think that's the question we should ask ourselves.
Should we go with the in crowd or not?
Yeah, because I do feel like the in crowd with hip hop nowadays is like, you know, chains, money, females, you know, stuff like that. But
see, one question I've always had is regarding this like topic is that, yeah, I agree. It's like I agree that there's like a root, and that's kind of been twisted over time. That like now it's like, okay, we've got things that it's not so bad. You know, we got things that's like an uplift, but then we've got things that can tear down too. But one question I've always had is, to a degree, do we also have to know a wide scope of it because so many others know about it? So it's like, just to give an example, I was picking up my dad from the airport one day and we were driving back home, and I just started playing some music from my phone, and you know, it wasn't explicit, but his response wasn't, you know, okay, that slaps. Okay, and I was like, hey, you know, I got a 30-minute lecture on, hey, be careful what you listen to. And I was thinking, it's like, okay, yeah, I understand, like, yeah, be careful what you listen to, but at the same time, we kind of have to. So it's like, if we go out, you know, say we're to go out with a group of friends to have a good time, and we start listening to all this stuff, it's like, okay, well, I've never heard this before, but everybody else knows it. And if I want to like communicate with people, it's like, I kind of need to know it too. So it's like, do we need, you know, that's an additional question, like, do we need to know what's popular?
Okay, so from my perspective, as far as hip-hop being an influence, hip-hop is what pushes the culture forward. Through music, through fashion, everything that we do is hip-hop is what creates and what elevates the culture. From the lyrics and rap songs, the fashion, the beefs, the memes that come from everything hip-hop, like, worldwide. Because you gotta see, like, hip-hop is fairly still new as far as a genre of music. It's only been around a few decades. And where it started in New York and how small that it was for New York, and then where it is now. Like, and as far as, you know, the listeners, what they choose to listen to, me personally, trap music is cool. I know about trap music, I know about the artists, I know some songs, but it's not my go-to. So, and how you say how music was back in the day, how artists had messages versus more than just the money, the women, the cars, the clothes. It's the same way today. You got guys like Kendrick, J. Cole, Logic, Joey Badass, like guys who got, I won't say real messages because every rapper speaks his or her truth in their music, but I feel like as far as like the issues and what we deem that like what rap needs to be talking about as far as helping black people and the struggles that we have those artists today. We have those mainstream artists and they blow up. It just depends on what people's preference is. And as far as you asking whether or not it can be toxic, like it just depends on what you choose to gravitate toward. Do you choose to gravitate towards the dark grittiness of what gangster rap was and what trap is now? You know, do you choose to gravitate towards the life that is talked about? And I feel like we should say that it's talked about because I feel like a lot of people try to say that it's glamorized and it's not. It's just men and women talking about their past and expressing their stories and what they see. So whether or not you choose to subscribe to that is up to you. But I feel that there is good and bad in all things. And it's easy to point them out when they're as big as what hip-hop is to this world. Because hip-hop is the #1 thing to push the culture forward, hands down. No matter the fact that this is what we would deem a white ran world, if hip-hop says that it's okay, if hip-hop says that it's cool, then it goes global. That's the power that hip-hop has. So we have to recognize that and take responsibility in that and take hip-hop as, yes, I want to share my story as an artist, but how can I help my people? How can I help us as a people, as a race, as a world? You know, how can I use what I have to kind of give back in a sense? So I feel like if we as people who are influence hip-hop, we have to consciously recognize that we have power in the things that we say and do. So whether you're a listener or the artist making the music for the listeners, your power lies within your words and your actions. So just be responsible and be aware of that. Topic, we'll be discussing the wonders of why can't people be honest? And I feel like just to kind of put it into context and perspective, what we mean by that is why can't people when they are faced with adversity or some type of conflict, or their perspective of what reality is challenged, and they feel that they have to respond a certain way instead of giving how they feel. So we're gonna start with Jess and go around the table on why you feel people can't really just say what they mean and mean what they say.
I might add on to it later, but I know one reason a lot of people feel that way is because they're afraid of the other person's feelings. But at the end of the day, you can't worry about that, because I know me personally, I would just rather you be straight up with me. Like, if you come off rude, oh well, at least I know where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That's just me. I know everybody's not like me. I feel like some people, if I gave it to them straight, they would just like think it's just the worst thing in the world for some reason. And I'm like, I'm trying to help you out if you really just listen to what I'm saying. But I don't know. I feel like one reason is just people concerned with others' feelings. But like, you gotta 86 that. Like, it's just, you gotta cut down the chase and like let them know what's up. So it's easier it's so much easier when you just tell the truth. Like, I don't get why people don't do that initially, but that's just me though. I don't know.
Yeah, I would add on to that and say on the other end of that, it's like people don't know how to be honest because they don't know how other people are going to react to it. But I will also add on to that and say, like, another reason why they won't tell them is because, like, they know they wrong. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you sitting here, you know you did something wrong, and you don't want to be honest about it because you know, like, you finna get checked for it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, people, I really feel like people, like, don't. First of all, I'll say people don't know how to be honest about their feelings, first of all. Like, I feel like in today's, like, specifically with our generation, like, we weren't necessarily taught well on how to express our feelings. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would say for us men, you know, we get told to shut up and don't express our feelings. Like, I mean, that's kind of like a society thing. But, you know,
Kind of have to.
you like, I mean, yeah, you kind of have to, but I just feel like people don't know how to handle accountability. That's why they're afraid to, like, be honest with others and themselves. So,
Yeah. No, well, I'm gonna add on to it too because it's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, I know with me, it's like being honest. It lifts a load off you, but I think oftentimes, like, my reason why a lot of people don't want to say the truth is there's a level of, like, shame with it also. It's like shame in, like, admitting that they're wrong, but also shame just kind of turns like, dang, I don't know what it was I did, but I did it. And it might have affected someone, and now I have to come clean to tell this person or I have a chance to. So it's like, okay, well, if I say it, now you're going to know my hidden shame, whatever shame it may be.
yeah.
I think that people find it hard to be honest sometimes because for a lot of people, they don't want to be seen as the bad guy or the bad person because a lot of the times when you tell someone the truth, it hurts. Not because you're trying to be rude or not because you're trying to be ugly, but you have to think about sometimes what you're doing when you're telling the truth, especially to someone who won't accept it or who's in denial.
Yeah.
You're taking their world and their perspective, and like I said earlier, you're challenging it. You're basically saying that it's flawed. It's not what they think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that's hard to grasp because a lot of people like to feel that what they believe is right, whether it is or it isn't, you know. And so when you challenge that, people feel that you're challenging their beliefs and you're challenging what they feel is right and you're telling them that it's wrong. So they have a hard time adjusting to that. So people don't want to be that person sometimes. Now, me personally, I don't really mind because I think of telling the truth to someone as giving a child medicine. Because as a child, for some kids, they don't like to, you know, take medicine. Why? Because it doesn't taste good.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the taste of it. It was horrible. You know, so.
I mean, it do depend on the medicine.
Well, you know, but it depends on the medicine.
Gummies, you know
Hit
what
the
I'm saying?
bubblegum.
But I'm talking about like the little,
good.
I'm talking about like the syrup. You remember like the nasty syrup? Like it was like real thick, but it was like
Man, yeah.
it said it was a fruit flavor, but it didn't taste anything like fruit at all.
This cherry flavor. No.
But you hated to take it, right? But you always took it because your mom told you that it would make you feel better at the end of the day, and it always did. So I equate that to telling someone the truth because they may not like how it sounds and it may not like how it makes them feel, but it's going to be good for them in the long run, whether they see it now or not. So
Yeah, and to kind of add on to that analogy of medicine, it's kind of like, okay, so if you don't take your medicine, what's going to happen? You know, it's just going to get worse and worse over time until that sickness is exposed and, like, now it's in trouble. So I kind of equate that to, like, what if you don't, say you decide you don't tell someone the truth about what happened and then they have to find out through other means?
That's gonna blow up.
Yeah, like you feel like it's
always bad.
it's finna blow up, like, you know, like you keeping your sickness under wraps, like.
And
So
see, it's not always that someone else has to bring it up too. If it gets bad enough, you might just bring it up.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, it doesn't just, like, fester outside, it festers inside too. So it's just like it keeps building up and then it's like, I'm gonna do something I know I shouldn't do.
it's kind of like a soda bottle. You know what happens when you keep shaking a soda bottle and you take the top off of it? That junk finna explode.
Mm-hmm.
So be a water, y'all. Be like this water. Still calm. When you open the top off, like nothing shoots out.
And I feel like, for me, I feel like what it is personally, when I tell someone the truth, sometimes I can kind of be a little agitating. I'm guilty of that. I can say that honestly, but I mean, I feel like for a lot of people, you kind of have to talk to them a certain way for them to really listen. And I feel like people who say that, no, it's just how you present it to someone. I feel like, yes, but sometimes I feel like, how do you politely tell someone that they're wrong and what they believe is wrong and this is why it's wrong and it actually be true? You know what I mean? Because when it's factual, you know what I'm saying, not when it's just, you know, somehow people say I'm speaking my truth. You know, your truth may not be factual.
Yeah.
and that's a tough pill to swallow for people. So people and society kind of reject those kind of people because you see that, like you said, when it comes back to the whole medicine thing, when people don't take their medicine, they get sick and they infect others. So being fake, as I have gotten older, can be a contagious thing.
Oh, me.
And you see that, and those who are not, I won't say diseased, but those who aren't following that trend are seen as kind of being different, or they're, you know, the target of people's opinions, you know, because they make you feel a certain way. But I feel like the older we get, I feel like we sometimes have to appreciate these people because they show us sometimes what the world really is. And they show us that if you're able to deal with them early on in life, you'll have it, I won't say easier, but you'll probably have a more relaxed feeling about life as you move forward.
Yeah, that does bring up a good question though. You said earlier is that how, and I know in my experience, like that how is just resulted in being like, if you can check now, you know, if you can check somebody, then you're you know, in most cases you're doing them a service. You're telling them like, hey, here's how I feel wrong, but oftentimes people take it the wrong way. But I think like one thing I've seen that has been effective is that like you tell them like, hey, here's what I'm seeing, but then you give something to build them up so that way they know that you're not tearing them down at the same time. So it's like, hey, here's how you're wrong, but here's what I've seen or here's what I've experienced or done to curb that, to like, you know, something just for them to build them up from it. But that's just something I've seen. I don't know if there's other ways to it. That's what I'm asking, like, so like what are some hows on how to tell somebody, or, you know, hey, just be honest. Or like, hey, I'm trying to be honest with you, but I don't want you to take it the wrong way.
Well, for me, I feel when I don't want to say equipped with the task, but when I'm put into that situation, what I like to do is I like to explain myself behind the things that I say, because I feel like if you just say words to people, you know, you just like start shooting off at the mouth at people, and especially if it's on the basis of them like, you know, being in denial, not accepting what you're saying is actually true. Having an explanation and giving the reasons why, and those reasons being factual just like your truth is, at least help the person understand where you're coming from. You're not coming from a place of hate, like I'm attacking you because you're not for the same thing that I am. I'm not ever coming at somebody like that, because I see it as, if I know the answer, I'm going to tell you, because I don't want you to go around thinking that that's really what it is. Because, you know, we have to be educated, you know, because knowledge is power. If you know that, then it prevents you from thinking or doing things that are false. So by giving them logic and giving them, you know, explanations and reasonings behind what you say, it at least helps them digest it a little better than just you shooting off words at them and then them walking away trying to figure it out and contextualize it themselves.
Yeah, because I know for me personally, well, previously, when I had a problem with someone, I would like shoot off at the mouth at them. But I would say now, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like shooting off at the mouth. I'm definitely still like direct, like with someone, because for me personally, I honestly don't know how any other ways to be, like other than just like ask the question, like, what's up? I heard that you got a problem. What's up? You know, and you know, like, I will say when it comes to certain people, like delivery matters. And I'm only saying that because a lot of people are sensitive.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm dealing with someone who I know is kind of like me, kind of blunt and kind of like direct with how they say, then I can approach the situation and be like, okay, now I can be blunt and direct because I know how you work. But if it's like a sensitive person, I'm gonna still be direct, but I'm gonna kind of bring my tone down a little bit, and I'm gonna make sure I throw some encouragement and like some respectfully. I don't agree with what you're doing, but your life, boss.
Guess what about you?
I feel like I agree with everything that was said, but I also feel like that there's a time and a place to, like, if you want to be direct with somebody, like, tell them like one-on-one, unless like it involves other people too. Like, don't be putting their business out there and stuff like that. That's just me personally, because I don't like my business out there. So I'm just like, I'm not saying stall on it and like, you know, just be thinking about, oh, well, how should I tell him, yada yada yada, but just like do it one-on-one, or like if it's just you and that person, make it remain between you and that person. Like,
And don't let it
that's
go anywhere
y'all's
else.
business. Yeah, like, don't be going off in the mouth, like going up to him in the BCC, why did you do this, yada yada yada, you know you're wrong, and like stuff like that. So
Also, to add on to that, don't take this to social media. Handle it with that person, whether it be face to face or through a direct message. Do not put it for the rest of the world to see, because that is how you make your problem everyone else's problem.
Don't even try to talk to me through IG with it. Not even Snap. I don't even accept Facebook messages.
Oh, damn.
What about a DM?
No.
Don't DM me.
You have to install the app
DM
separate
closed.
to the Facebook app just to message people. That's trash. I'm not downloading two
Right.
apps.
That is true though.
That is true. Well, let me ask this one more question, because I know we're about to have to change topics, but what about on the slightly other end of the spectrum? So it's like, what if you were the one that's done something that you don't want to be honest about? So like, how do you go about being honest about that?
For me, I just accept the fact that
Yeah, honestly.
you just have to accept it, and it's very hard. It's easier said than done, trust me. I understand that it is, but it's just the fact of life, because you can't get better unless you own up to the fact that you did something wrong or that you were false. And I feel like that's people's biggest problem, is realizing it within themselves and dealing with it, because once you learn to deal with it, it's easier to deal with it with other people, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I feel like 9 times out of 10, like, not 9 times out of 10, but when I say I did something wrong, I'm like, okay, what's more important? Like, is the relationship with this person I'm going to talk to more important, or just me holding it in and like letting it fester and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would rather them know and like me feel ashamed of what I did. At least they know. Like, they at least.
And then on top of that, you never know what the person's response is going to be like if you're honest with them, like up front. Because I know a lot of people are like afraid about like the response they're going to get whenever they're honest with someone. But like in some of the situations that I've been in where I've had to like just be honest with people, like, you know, they appreciated the fact that I was honest with them. I mean, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still going to be some hurt feelings, you know. But they appreciate the fact that you were honest with them and that they didn't have to find out through other means, because like that way, like I was saying beforehand, that makes the hurt feelings like more of a problem, because you could probably keep the hurt feelings about like good right here. But if you don't be honest, then the hurt feelings like go up here, because not only did you do the thing that you weren't honest about, but you weren't honest about it when I asked, and I had to find out from other people, and I thought you and me supposed to be close, but I didn't find out from you. So like it's like extra stuff added on to it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know, when you could have just handled it like first get go. You know what I'm saying? But guess we got to change topic now. That was a good topic.
That was a good topic. New Year's resolution. So like, for a lot of people, that's their way to kind of start refining, you know, seeing the diamond for themselves. But oftentimes we see that the resolutions fail. So I'm really curious, like, what do y'all think about resolutions in general?
I think resolutions in general are great. New Year's resolutions, why? Why are you waiting until the beginning of the year? Like, why won't you just do that when you feel the need to change? So like, let's say in the summer, you want to start losing weight or whatever. Or like, you don't have to wait a whole 6 months if you want to decide to do that. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, I don't like bash people that do them, but I don't really do them myself because I'm like, I'll be ready to change when I'm ready to change. So
Yeah.
Or do something different, make a new habit, something. So
Yeah, I think with me it's just I don't understand them. I mean, like I'm not gonna bash anyone else that does them. Like, hey, you want to do a New Year's resolution? You know, you want to do something different for 2019? Good. That's for you. But you know, it's like you said. Like, why are we waiting to the new year to try to work on ourselves? I would say for me personally, I spent the latter half of 2018 trying to work on myself, and I didn't wait till 2019. And I personally feel like a lot of stuff in my life wouldn't have happened if I would have waited to change my ways. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, shout out to people who do them. I mean, if you actually go through with your New Year's resolutions, that's what's up. I mean, like, I'll cheer for you, claps, applause. But me personally, I don't understand the premise behind them. So that's just me.
Yeah. No, I actually really agree with both of those because it's really just like y'all says, like, why? And it's like, okay, like, I really want to see the person who sticks to their New Year's resolutions because that means they set something and they stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
And most times it doesn't really just end in just a year. It's like it keeps going. So it's like, okay, show me that person. It's like, okay, I'm glad that I see it, but everybody gets so gung-ho about it. That's the part that baffles me. It's like everybody gets so gung-ho to make these resolutions.
they have the same one every year.
Right, the same one every year.
There are those people out there. This year I'm gonna really get it done. No. Maybe it's your year, but this is like sixth time to try. Come on, my man.
Bro, what killed me is when people be like, in 2019, y'all ain't gonna treat me like this, but them people still treat you the same way. It's just like, bro, quit fronting. You ain't finna change once January 1st of 2019 hit. Like, come on now.
It's like they're saying, like, the old habits die hard. It's like what makes things like going into the new year is gonna change those habits.
Well, for me, looking at New Year's resolutions, I see that I can kind of see other people's perspective. I mean, because that's what I kind of like to do. I kind of like to look at other people's perspective before I just kind of, like you said, y'all aren't bashing, I understand that. But I can see from other people's perspective, like how you say you put in the work last year so that in 2019 you wouldn't be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes that's how people who make New Year's resolutions see themselves, like how you said, it could be something as simple as losing weight, in the summer, so that way in 2019 they may say, well, I will be thin or I will be thinner in 2019 or something
So like
like
smaller
that.
goals.
Yeah, and I don't think necessarily it has to be, a New Year's resolution has to be something that you change. From what I've seen is people add things to their daily routines. I want to pray more, I want to read the Bible more, I want to have a date night with my significant other, or I want to go do this every week, or just they add things, not necessarily change, but they remove or they add, stuff like that. So I myself do not do New Year's resolutions. I'm kind of on the spectrum of, if I see that I need to change, I'm going to do my best to make that change then and there when I recognize it, because I know if I tend to procrastinate on things, although my performance is better, it really doesn't help me, in the long run, because I waited all this time, and I feel like I wasted all this time to get to where I need to be, versus attacking it when I first recognize it.
What would y'all suggest for then? So, say someone does want to actually like make a New Year's resolution. Do you think it'd be better for them then to make it for something long term, so that way it's more internal that way?
I feel like, I don't know, just for me, because small steps to get to a bigger goal. So I feel like a lot of people fail, or not necessarily fail, like they don't accomplish or they don't reach a certain level within their resolutions.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to say they aim too high, but that's kind of what it really is. I feel like, so if you start off smaller and you add on, or you give yourself a time interval, okay, so by, let's say we'll use your weight loss example. Let's say somebody says, all right, there are 12 months in a year. We're going to split this up into 4 integrals, or 3-month integrals, or 4-month integrals. I want to lose X amount of weight by this time around. So this is like April. By the first 4 months, I want to lose this much weight. By the time I get to the next 4 months, I want to lose this much, and then this much. So that way, instead of saying I want to lose an exuberant amount of weight in the year, you know, people are overwhelmed by that, so they feel like they have to start right off the bat, like going like full hard in the gym, and then sometimes it's hard to make that commitment like right off when you're putting that much pressure on yourself. So sometimes I feel like you have to not necessarily aim lower, but find a different route to your goal.
So are you saying like be more realistic with it?
Oh, absolutely. Basically, yeah. Be more realistic.
Yeah, because I was about to say myself, I was like, I don't know, I wouldn't say like either short term or long term. I would say like make them more realistic, because people be having these broad New Year's resolutions, and I be sitting here like that's not realistic at all.
Like with the weight loss saying I'm gonna lose 50 pounds in a month.
Yeah, like that's not realistic. I mean, like shout out to you because you have that tremendous amount of faith in yourself, but if we being truthful, you know you can't lose like 50 pounds in a month.
Yeah.
Like so.
And I feel like people have to live by well, I don't say that you have to, but this is something that I live by. Progress is a slow process.
Yeah.
So I feel like if people live by that, I feel like their resolutions will be a lot better.
More better. Yeah. Actually be out of time for today's show.
Oh.
Maybe out of time for today's show, but thank you all for watching. Again, this is Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Braun at your service.
Got myself, Omari.
Chase Bryant.
To our beautiful guest, Jess, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we appreciate everyone for watching the first edition of In the Rough. Stay tuned. We will have more videos uploaded on our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. We will have a dozen more topics. If you want to hear about a topic, you know, you want to hear us discuss it, make sure you send it in so we can get it written down, you know, because y'all may say a topic that we don't know about, so we got to research. So, you know, like my co-host Omar said, thank you for all that was viewing today. So,
Until next time.
Until next time.
Barney hug life.